Hello everyone and welcome back to Alternative Apex here in Saudi Arabia for the second race in 2022 here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, a very unique circuit in Formula 1 in only its second Grand Prix. The 3.8 mile long circuit, 27 turns on it, mean that it's really like no other racetrack, such a high speed circuit with very little on the track that is particularly slow speed, means that it really tests these cars when it comes to their high speed downforce, that and of course top speed being the two big key factors to doing well here at this circuit. Now let's take a look at the starting grid for today's event. On the front row we have Max Verstappen alongside his former teammate at Toro Rosso, Carlos Sainz, less than a tenth away from pole position there. The Ferrari driver should be quite pleased with that qualifying session. Further down the grid we have Sergio Perez and George Russell again qualifying well, with Lewis Hamilton and Pascal Wehrlein putting in a great qualifying session there for the Porsche team. With Alpine looking out the fourth row of the grid, Charles Leclerc has some problems in Q3, only manages ninth on the grid, with Norris running out the top 10 with Schumacher, Tsunoda, Gasly and Magnussen just missing out on Q3 there, with Joe and Stroll followed up by Sebastian Vettel and Valtteri Bottas, who drops back after a grid penalty. Daniel Ricciardo and Nico Hülkenberg, the second of the Porsches, again struggling in qualifying, with Williams locking out the back row of the grid for today's race. Now it is time to go down to the grid to see the drivers getting ready for today's race. Of course, you've got the Mercedes safety car there leading them at the front of the field, getting ready for today's race. Hopefully we don't see the safety car today, but of course at this circuit with the wall so close, anything can happen. So you now see Nico Hülkenberg on the grid down in 20th, a very disappointing qualifying session for him once again. But he proved last time out in Bahrain that after starting 19th, he managed to make his way up into 10th position and get Porsche's first points in Formula 1. So clearly he can make a lot of positions up in the race, and I imagine he'll be wanting to do the same again today, as the drivers now take to the formation lap for today's event. See there, Verstappen and Sainz leading them away as they make their way into the only tight corner on this racetrack, really, that first and second corner. The chicane down there means that it's probably one of the better overtaking zones of this racetrack, but the many DRS zones around here mean that there really isn't a part of the track you can't overtake into, with several corners being very much overtaking zones. However, these drivers may well have to wait for certain corners because they know if they pass in certain places, they could be passed straight back down the next straight. So they have to be smart about where they make their overtakes, and that could definitely be a potential race-deciding factor today. So make sure to keep an eye on how that plays out, because as we'll see throughout the race, it could well have a big impact on who does well and who struggles just a little bit more, as the cars now are pulling into their grid spots ahead of today's race. The two Williams cars, as I said, bringing up the back of the grid, not the qualifying session they would have wanted. They'll just be looking to try and survive this race, as it is a circuit that can really test these race cars. The lights are coming on now and we are getting ready for the race. The revs are up and we are racing in Saudi Arabia. It's a great start from Max Verstappen, who's going to pull immediately off the line ahead of the field. Carlos Sainz in second, but Verstappen locks up. He's gone straight on turn one. Looks like he's just about been able to keep it on the racetrack, but Carlos Sainz around the outside is going to take the lead of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. A great move there from the Ferrari driver, as they've got racing side by side. George Russell again has made a strong start side by side with Sergio Perez, but can't quite make that move stick as they go side by side through this long sweeping S section. But it is Perez who holds on to third place, but Verstappen crucially loses the lead. Had a brilliant start, but Carlos Sainz, well, he made turn one, something that Verstappen wasn't able to do. But at the end of lap one now, we see already we're getting to the first real long straight of the lap, and as they make their way towards the final corner, Max Verstappen has got a massive run to the outside of the Ferrari. Going to be late on the brakes here into the final corner. It's not an easy corner to do as they wheel bang a little bit through there. No DRS at this stage in the race, so it's Max Verstappen versus Carlos Sainz. It's a straight fight here, as that Ferrari looks like it has a little bit better top speed and is going to drive past the Red Bull as they make their way down into turn one. But Verstappen, let's see, what's he like on the brakes? This time he makes the corner. They stay side by side. Verstappen with the inside for turn two. They're going to be side by side on the exit, but Carlos Sainz surely has the better racing line there for the exit. Now with the inside into the next corner, but Verstappen's going to hold it out around the outside. Brilliant racing here between the top two, as Sergio Perez is right behind the pair of them, ready to pick up the scraps, but Carlos Sainz managed to hold on to the race lead there. Some absolutely wonderful racecraft between the pair of them there, as Russell and Hamilton very close behind and look like they might be racing soon as well. Charles Leclerc starting 9th in this race is managed to, well, hold position off the start, which is crucial, but now getting up ahead of Pascal Wehrlein in the Porsche, now up into 8th position. Charles Leclerc beginning his charge up to that Ferrari should be quite quick. His teammate is leading the race, but as I mentioned that, let's go back up to the front of the field. I believe there may be some racing happening up there as Charles Leclerc makes his way into the final corner, racing behind Charles Leclerc as well, side by side between Lando Norris and Kevin Magnussen. There is now we've got the Mercedes racing, and we've also got the top 2 racing, so it's battles absolutely everywhere here. Oh, that's a big wobble there for one of the rebels on the straight, but we've got battle for the lead once more. Verstappen on the inside. Carlos Sainz now switches to the inside as they go through turn 2, but Verstappen is going to take the lead back here, and the Mercedes cars in the background, they're side by side. It's Lewis Hamilton versus George Russell. Can George Russell hold on here? They're going to be side by side into the S section. Hamilton very much braving it around the outside there, but he gets a little bit of a wiggle there, and he's going to push Russell almost into the wall, and that is going to allow the Alpine of Alonso to nearly pass George Russell there, but Russell just about holds onto the car and avoids any contact. But there we see just a little bit later we've got Charles Leclerc attacking at the Alpine of Fernando Alonso. Look at how much Charles Leclerc is caught in this race. It's only lap 4 and Leclerc is already on the back of the Mercedes cars, and the Mercedes cars aren't that far back from the battle for the lead, so Charles Leclerc really impressing in these early stages as he is charging the We're now up into 6th position, and not that far away from the lead group as he's already going to start racing the Mercedes cars. Great bit of action that Leclerc is producing to the outside as they make their way towards the final corner. Going to stay side by side here. Should get DRS down the straight, but both of them will, as they have got the other Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton just ahead of them. But they could all be racing up front as well, so let's see. Charles Leclerc side by side down the main straight. He's got slipstream there from Lewis Hamilton, but Hamilton sort of sitting between the two when it comes to slipstream. But late on the brakes, George Russell holds on to the position, but Charles Leclerc is going to fight back through turn 2. Great racing. This track is just perfect for racing around here. It has got a bit of everything, and we're going to see more side-by-side action in the S section. Leclerc's going to try and repeat the move that Hamilton made. Looks like Leclerc's going to be able to keep it a bit tight to the apex, though, and it's actually going to allow Russell to stay side-by-side, and actually Russell's going to hold on to the position in the S section here. That's a brilliant bit of racing, and shows that perhaps Hamilton needed to make that aggression pay off with his teammate earlier on, because Russell, if he had been given that space, clearly is able to stay ahead, and has been able to stay ahead for a little bit, but Leclerc uses that superior Ferrari to get ahead of the Mercedes, and Leclerc is up into 5th position now, as is battling up ahead. Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen once again are side by side into turn 1. Sainz really does not want to give up this lead, as the two Red Bulls look like they've got the pace at the moment. Perez hanging right in there at the moment as well, but Sainz fighting hard with the Red Bull of Verstappen. Verstappen around the outside. It worked for him in the past, and it's going to work for him again here. But Carlos Sainz able to slot back into 2nd place. Verstappen is your leader once more here. But now, with slipstream, with DRS, it could well change all over again. Carlos Sainz in the slipstream. He's going to go to the left. He gets blocked off by Verstappen. Some questionable moves there. But now to the outside goes Carlos Sainz. But is he going to be ahead? No, I don't know who got the DRS there, actually. They were so close across the line. I don't know who's going to have DRS as they come on to the start-finish straight at the end of lap 6, start of lap 7. And Sainz does have the DRS. He's going to go to the right-hand side. But Perez wants to get involved here. He could have gone to the inside, but I think he's confident in Sainz making this move. He's going to go to the outside. Oh, but Verstappen late on the brakes. Brilliant bit of braking there from Max Verstappen. He's going to go back down the inside, around the outside now of Carlos Sainz and back into the lead of the race. Some great driving there. The Dutchman takes the lead back away from the Ferrari, as now we've got George Russell fighting with the Alpines here. Looks like he's just lacking a bit of pace compared to his teammate who's running up in 4th position at the moment. Wehrlein hanging on to this scrap as well in the Porsche. Had a lot of problems last time out in Bahrain, dropped well down the order, but at the moment he's holding his own in P9. Now we go back here to Carlos Sainz, racing for the lead of the race to the outside of turn 1. Can he make the move stick on this occasion? It doesn't look like he's going to be able to again. Just doesn't seem like he can make it work. It's so hard to overtake, but at the same time it's so easy to overtake. It's amazing. You can get side by side so comfortably, but just making that final sort of manoeuvre into the lead is what's really challenging these drivers, and that's how it should be. These drivers shouldn't be giving the moves of that. Verstappen goes deep, he locks up, there's contact. Debris flies in the final corner. That's 2 end plates off. That's both Red Bull's cars. Damage, and they're both having to pull into the pits. That is a massive change of dynamic in this race. The Red Bulls have collided. Verstappen locked up into the final corner, but then Perez went down his inside and Verstappen turned back in. He didn't know his teammate was there, and that's given Carlos Sainz the lead back. But Charles Leclerc is only a second back from this now. He started 9th, but Leclerc is still in the fire as Verstappen leaves the pits. He got held up so much, not only by the wing change and the problems. Oh, but that's smoke! That's smoke! Verstappen forget having problems in the pits. He's now got an engine failure. Max Verstappen is out of the race. 22nd and no points for the Red Bull driver. He took home what he could in Bahrain. He took home third place. But the Porsche engine has gone bang in the back of the Red Bull, as now it's over to the Ferraris to battle out for this win, as Perez down in 19th now. Looks like he is out of this as Leclerc versus Carlos Sainz. Leclerc around the outside. He started 9th in this race, and by the time they finish lap 9, it's going to be Charles Leclerc who leads the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Let's see, he pulls ahead, fully clear of his teammate and into the lead completely now. Leclerc, this is his race. The pace he has shown, unbelievable, as they go into the other flag zone where Verstappen's car was. Leclerc on lap 11, continuing to pull away out front here. He showed that pace charging up the order, but that car's not just good in traffic as he now pits. It's also good in the lead because he pulled away from his teammate there. And as he pits on lap 11, his teammate will pit lap 12. Let's see. How will this play out? We don't really know what the overcut-undercut sort of situation is. In Bahrain, it looked like the overcut had the pace, but then you were quite vulnerable when you came out of the pits to then be battled back past. But on this occasion, Leclerc is going to be comfortably ahead of his teammate, and Carlos Sainz, if anything, looks like he may have lost a bit of time. He actually definitely has lost a bit of time in that pit stop. About 2 seconds he's lost compared to his teammate through that pit window, as Lewis Hamilton now up into third position is going to try and make something happen here for Mercedes. Wants to try and get their first podium of the season after having a pretty miserable first race. Mercedes are looking to bounce back here as Charles Leclerc leads on lap 14 of the race. Dominating fashion, a 6-second lead, but is he slowing down there? That's Charles Leclerc going slowly. Surely not. It is. It's a retirement. Both of the top two sort of favourites for this championship have retired from this race, and Carlos Sainz is back into the lead for Ferrari. Charles Leclerc, after an utterly brilliant start to this race, is out. He put in some of the best moves. He had some unbelievable pace, but it's not going to matter because his engine, his Ferrari engine, has failed. And into the lead now, it is his teammate Carlos Sainz, who looked like he was dropping back, but now he's been given a gift. But speaking of gifts, Lewis Hamilton, that Mercedes was miserable in Bahrain, but here in Jeddah, it's absolutely flying as he looks to try and take the lead of the race away from Carlos Sainz around the outside of the final corner. He can't quite do it on this occasion, but they're going to be side by side down the main straight. Let's see who's going to have the DRS. It's Carlos Sainz now who's going to have the DRS down the main straight. Hamilton using only the slipstream to try and get back past. He's going to go to the right side, but just has to follow into turn 1. Sainz defends that one nicely. Can't do anything on this occasion. As George Russell now battling with Fernando Alonso. Whilst his teammate battled for the lead, George Russell, after having the engine failure in round 1, is now battling away for the position of 4th, which is really not what he would have wanted, but any points on the board is an improvement over last race. So now we see them go side by side into the S section. Russell is going to get ahead of the Alpine. Let's see if that Mercedes can stretch its legs. And speaking of Mercedes, here's Lewis Hamilton, who's going to make another attempt to lead the race. Not even with DRS, as now DRS is opened up in the back of the Mercedes. They're side by side through this flat out portion of the racetrack. Now they get into another one of these high speed kinks. And side by side still for the lead of the race. Who is going to be able to take this one away? Because Perez is back in this as well. They've battled so hard. Perez, we thought he was out of it. He's back in the fight as well here. The Red Bull is going to almost make it free wide. He gets blocked off. But Hamilton there goes from challenging for the lead down to third place as Perez is now looking like he may well be in this fight for the win. 3 different manufacturers battling away from the lead. We've got Red Bull, Porsche, we've got Ferrari, and we've got Mercedes battling it out for the lead here in Bahrain. Perez is going to go to the right, and he is going to attempt to take the lead away. Can he do it though? To the right hand side, around the outside of the Ferrari. Can he now take the inside of turn 2? Can that work for him, or is Carlos Sainz going to be able to fight back here? The Ferrari, he just doesn't seem to have the pace his teammate had before the engine failure. Perhaps they've had to turn that engine down after Leclerc's engine failure. That would explain his somewhat lack of pace here, because Lewis Hamilton being up in this fight really is not what we would have expected here. And Perez, the fact that he has been able to charge back through and retake the lead of this race, even despite having damage earlier on, really shows that that Ferrari is struggling here. And Hamilton, not long after Sainz loses the lead, he may well lose another position here as Hamilton is going to send one to the inside here, into this banked corner. Let's see Hamilton on the inside line, laid on the brakes, and just carries the momentum through. And Carlos Sainz clearly nursing an issue now, so we see Nico Hülkenberg further back in the pack in at 12th position. Looks like it's a relatively good day for Porsche, but he's into the pits. No! Nico Hülkenberg was making a great drive through the field after starting 20th, was up into 12th, but he's into the pit lane here, and it's going to be a change of front wing for the German driver in the German car. That's not what he would have wanted. So Nico Hülkenberg is going to drop to the back of the field here. And let's see where he picked up this damage. Oh, there's contact there, but that was Tsunoda. Oh, Tsunoda's gone deep, a bit like Verstappen did on lap 1. Hulkenberg's tried to do what Sainz did and go around the outside, but he just clipped his front wing as he's tried to do so. But now we go back up the order to the battle for the podium. It is George Russell versus Carlos Sainz. We've seen one Mercedes make an overtake in this corner already in this race. Can George Russell do the same around the outside? That is a wonderful overtake there from the young Briton. Amazing racing here in Jeddah. What a move. George Russell up into third position now. Carlos Sainz, again, just shows that they are clearly nursing some problems on that Ferrari as he drops further down the order. And speaking of dropping down the order, we've got Kevin Magnussen flying past Pascal Wehrlein in the lead Porsche in this race. Wehrlein looks like he might have some problems as well. We've already seen one Porsche engine failure in this race in the form of Max Verstappen. Could we have some issues with Pascal Wehrlein's car as well? As he now's dropped back behind Kevin Magnussen, and we're just 5 laps left in this race. Can Wehrlein hold on, or will he drop out of the points once again? As we look back to the other of the Porsche cars, Hulkenberg is racing the Williams cars. We haven't seen the Williams cars in this race. They just haven't had the pace. But now we're going to get a great chance to see them as they're racing here through turns 1 and 2. The Porsche are racing the Williams. The much fresher tyres on Nico Hulkenberg's car should allow him to race quite comfortably ahead of these Williams. But at the moment, it looks like he's just going to have to battle away with these for a couple of laps now as he's going to make a move to the outside of the banked curve. Can he repeat what George Russell did? Looks like he's going to try, a little bit deep there, I think, from Nicholas Latifi. Maybe he made a small mistake, but Hulkenberg is going to make that move, and another brilliant move there on those fresh tyres with a little bit more downforce in that Porsche. Makes the move over the Williams of Nicholas Latifi, and Hulkenberg back up into P18. Still improvement over where he started, but no, not again. Into the pits at the end of lap 21, Hulkenberg. Has he picked up more damage battling the Williams cars now? And are they going to change the wing? Actually, I don't know if they did change the wing on that occasion. I think that he may just have had worn tyres on this time, so maybe a strategic mistake. Maybe they're going for fastest lap at this point for Hulkenberg, but up at the front, Hamilton is on the back of Perez, but he just can't do anything. That Red Bull is too quick, and out of the final corner, the Mexican driver will leave the final corner, opens up the DRS, and to the line they go. It's Sergio Perez who wins the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. A brilliant drive that holds off Hamilton in the late stages of the race, as it will be a double podium for Mercedes. After only getting 5th last time out, they are going to get 2nd and 3rd here, as there's lots of scraps further down the order. It was a 5th and 6th for Alpine, but look at this, a great fight going on here, as that is, I believe, Gasly who's got ahead of Wehrlein. Wehrlein who's just trying to fight to try and get a stay in the points here. Clearly he has some issues on that Porsche engine, and he is just about going to get P9 here. 2 points for Porsche. That is a decent result for that team. But it is Red Bull who will be taking home the biggest trophy today, as Sergio Perez, the number 11 car, wins here in Jeddah. The number 1, very much a number he will like today as he gets out of that car. Brilliant race there from Sergio Perez. And, well, that really was quite the recovery. That Red Bull, I mean, it had some good luck there with Leclerc and Verstappen having problems, but still had to fight with what he had to deal with and held off Hamilton in those late stages. And whilst the Mercedes may not have been as quick as that Red Bull, Hamilton had the DRS, and Hamilton has all that experience. He's a 7-time world champion. No matter what car he's in, he's never going to be easy to defend from. So Perez, a brilliant drive there, as we see him making his way out on the podium to take his first win of the season here. And I'm sure he'll be very happy with that, as he takes Red Bull's first win of the season, and he takes Porsche's first win since their return. And that's a long time since a Porsche-powered car has won in Formula 1. It is a very, very long time. So Perez very happy to take that top step of the podium, and so is that Red Bull team. And Porsche, they took 2 points with their own car, and they took the win with Red Bull. So a good day for the German car manufacturer as they take their first win back in Formula 1, as they spray the champagne on the podium. I'm sure Perez will be very thankful that his car held together today, as will the Mercedes drivers, as both of their cars, after having the issues in round 1 of the season, they really have bounced back here today, taking a double podium for the Brackley-based team. Here are your results now for round 2 of 2022. Of course, it is Perez who takes the win for Red Bull Racing after starting 3rd in today's race. Took that damage mid-race with his teammate, but managed to fight back on to the top step of the podium. Lewis Hamilton takes 2nd place for Mercedes with George Russell in 3rd. Carlos Sainz takes 4th for Ferrari, with Fernando Alonso rounding out the top 5 there for Alpine. Very strong day for Alpine as they take home 18 points, with Ocon following his teammate in 6th position. Kevin Magnussen gets Haas's first point of the season as they take 7th place and 6 points that comes with it. After starting 14th, a very strong drive for the Dane. Then in 8th position we have Pierre Gasly and AlphaTauri. Pretty good race for them as they take double points, with Wehrlein in 9th, splitting the two AlphaTauri drivers, with Yuki Tsunoda rounding out the points paying positions. So now we look over to the Drivers' Championship standings. It is Sergio Perez who leads the way after his win today. Carlos Sainz in second. He's been quite consistent so far this season, but Perez with that win is ahead in the championship. Hamilton sitting third at the moment. Not really out of it on the points front, so maybe if that Mercedes gets a bit more competitive, maybe Mercedes can get into this Drivers' Championship fight. Leclerc, despite winning round one, only fourth in the championship. It looks like he was set to take 2 wins in a row. And would, in that case, have had a massive championship lead, but instead is sitting 11 points off the lead after the retirement today. Max Verstappen, another driver who had an engine failure today, sitting 5th in the championship, equal points with George Russell, which I think just shows both of those two with an engine failure in one of the races, and I mean, it's fair play to Russell to be same points as Verstappen with the same amount of finishes, so Verstappen definitely needs to find that little something if he wants to try and contend for this title. With then Ocon in 7th in the championship, with Alonso behind, Bottas and Norris rounding out the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship. Now looking over to the Constructors' Championship, it is Ferrari who lead the way, but only 5 points ahead of Red Bull. 14 points back for Mercedes, so not exactly where they'd want to be, but similar with Hamilton in the Drivers' Championship, and with pretty much everyone in the Drivers' Championship at this stage in the season, not out of it yet. Alpine leading the rest of the field in 4th position, Alfa Romeo in 5th. Really good round one for them, but not quite able to back it up this race. And then in 6th is AlphaTauri, with McLaren, Haas, Porsche, Aston Martin and Williams rounding out the positions. A very close midfield fight with sort of from Porsche all the way up to Alfa Romeo. Those 5 teams all looking very close on pace and on points. Aston Martin and Williams both without points so far this season. Aston Martin, I'm confident that they're going to be able to get points. Williams, they weren't strong today, so it's going to be tough for them, but never say never. As Alpine at the moment look like they're very much going to be the best of the rest in 4th position, but it's still early days, so anything can happen from this point on in the season. But that is it for today's race. I hope you all enjoyed it. I think it was quite an entertaining race today with lots of different drivers up in the mix and with some drama involved as well with those engine failures. Interesting to see how Porsche have progressed. Hulkenberg looked quite quick today. Wehrlein looks like he had some issues. Of course, Hulkenberg had the damage as well, so Porsche looked like they're making their way up the order. But still looks like they've got a long way to go. Got some issues to iron out if they want to really be competitive in that midfield fight. But I mean, I think they've definitely got the potential to be up there with Alpine, but today in particular Alpine looked like they were just that one step ahead of the midfield. I mean, the Alpines were racing with Russell at one point in that race, and Russell ended up on the podium, so clearly Alpine have got a very strong package at this point in time. And Mercedes as well, really impressive today getting that double podium. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this championship plays out. Next up we have Imola, and it's, of course, first time in Europe this season, but also our first sprint race of the season, so it's a bit extra points on offer, so if you're good there, you're going to get a little bit extra reward from it, but also it's a very tricky circuit, so I imagine we could see a bit more drama there. I don't know what the engine failures will be like there. I imagine it would be quite a bit better, because, of course, Saudi Arabia are very power-hungry track. The engines go for a lot of strain on that circuit. Imola, much sort of more corners, that's sort of the focus of the Imola circuit, but there's still that long straight there, so anything could happen in Imola, but hopefully it'll be a bit more racing on track for the win and a little bit less of the engine failures. But it should nonetheless be very exciting, with some of those tight chicanes meaning that we could definitely have some action next time out in Imola. But as I said, that's it for today's race. I hope you all enjoyed it and are looking forward to tomorrow's race. Thank you so much for watching today, it really does mean a lot. But until next time, goodbye.